The scream rent the air-conditioned silence of the hotel corridor. Having entered the suite only seconds earlier, the chambermaid stumbled from the room crying for help, sobbing, and randomly banging on the doors of other guest rooms. Later, her supervisor would chastise her for this hysterical reaction, but at that point in time she was in the throes of hysteria. Unfortunately for her, few guests were in their rooms that afternoon. Most were out enjoying the unique charms of Charleston's historic district. But finally she managed to rouse one guest, a man from Michigan who, wilted from the unaccustomed heat, had returned to his room to take a nap. Though groggy from being abruptly awakened, he immediately determined that only a major catastrophe could cause the level of panic the chambermaid was experiencing. Before he could even make sense of her blubbering, he called the front desk and alerted hotel personnel to an emergency on the top floor. 2 Charleston policemen, whose beat included the newly opened Charlestown Plaza, promptly responded to the summons. A flustered hotel security guard led them to the penthouse suite, where the maid had gone in for early turn-down service, only to find that it wouldn't be needed. The occupant was sprawled on the suite's parlor floor, dead. The police officer knelt down near the body. "Holy, that looks like—" "It's him, all right," said his partner in an equally awe-struck voice. "Is this gonna stir up a shitstorm or what?" He noticed her the moment she stepped into the pavilion. Even in a crowd of other women dressed, for the most part, in skimpy summer clothing, she was definitely a standout. Surprisingly, she was alone. As she paused to get her bearings, her gaze stopped briefly on the dais where the band was performing, before moving to the dance floor, then to the haphazard arrangement of chairs and tables surrounding it. Spotting a vacant table, she moved to it and sat down. What the band lacked in musical talent they made up for with volume, obviously of the opinion that decibels would make their missed notes less discernible. The crowd didn't seem to mind the discordant sound. For that matter, neither did Hammond Cross. Ironically, the racket of the county fair was somehow soothing. Going to a county fair hadn't been on his agenda today. He'd happened on the fair by accident about a half hour outside of Charleston. What had compelled him to stop he would never know. It wasn't like he was an avid carnival-goer. His parents certainly had never taken him to one. Not exactly their crowd. Ordinarily, Hammond probably would have avoided it too, but this afternoon in particular the crowd and the noise appealed to him. Left alone, he only would have brooded over his troubles, and who needed that on one of the few remaining weekends of the summer? So when his highway speed was reduced to a crawl, and he got trapped in the traffic inching into the temporary parking lot, actually a cow pasture-turned parking lot by an enterprising farmer, he had remained in line with the other cars and vans and SUVs. He paid $2 to the tobacco-chewing youth who was collecting for the farmer, and was fortunate enough to find a spot for his car beneath a shade tree. Before getting out, he removed his suit jacket and tie and rolled up his shirt sleeves. Out here he wasn't a professional or a colleague or a son. Tension, anger, and the weight of responsibility began to melt off him. The sense of freedom was heady. Hammond was immediately glad he had stopped. Being absorbed by a large, noisy crowd suddenly seemed preferable to spending a solitary evening in his cabin, which had been his original plan upon leaving Charleston. The band had played 2 songs since the auburn-haired woman had sat down across the pavilion from where he was seated. Hammond had continued to watch her and to speculate. Most likely she was waiting for someone to join her. Probably a husband and assorted children. She appeared to be not quite as old as he, maybe early 30s, about the age of the carpool driving set, except that she was a little too edgy. She didn't look like a mother of young children who was enjoying a few minutes' respite while Daddy took the kids for a ride on the carousel. She didn't have the cool, competent air of his acquaintances' wives who were members of Junior League and other civic clubs, and she didn't have the soft, settled body of a woman who had borne 2 or 3 offspring either. Her figure was compact and athletic. She had great legs that were muscled, sleek, and tan, shown off by a short